Let's just start with your thoughts on the market as we close out at 30,637 points on the JSE All Share, and we are now very close to that 31,000 point level.
Evening, Bronwyn. Absolutely. I mean, it was a bit of a volatile day. We opened quite strongly, sort of tracked back into the early afternoon and then a rally into the close. At the end of the day, though, at the moment the bulls are in charge of this market. The 31,000 seems a certainty on the all share to be taken out. I think the number most people are looking at, certainly that I'm looking at, is that all-time high from back in 2008. We're looking there at around 33,000. And although it might sound crazy, we're 8% away. So, I mean, that's almost a given as well. And then I think the real question is how much further from that can we rally. Remember, this run started at about 26,000 odd, so it's been a really, really good run so far for the last couple of months.
And what about the consequences of going through that 33,000 point level, gaining that additional 8% from these levels, and then retracing all that ground in a dramatic move lower? Is that not a potential reality?
It certainly is, and I think if we break the all-time high, which it looks like we will, I don't think we're going to beat it by a heck of a lot. I'm not even sure if we're going to get to 34,000. Then the retrace starts. With that first sort of landing platform would be around the 29, 30,000 and potentially back to 26. And I don't think it'll necessarily be violent. I don't think it'll be over a couple of days. Much as this rally's lasted a couple of months, I think we can expect that to perhaps take probably less time, but certainly measured in weeks rather than days. But short answer, I don't think we're out of the woods yet. I think this rally up is just going to give us more space on the downside.
Simon, just looking at the market today, African Rainbow Minerals closing at the top of the top 40, up over 5%. We've often spoken of as a mini BHP Billiton minus the oil, and it's followed closely by BHP Billiton today, which was up 2%. Is this an indication of how African Rainbow Minerals can outperform going forward?
Short answer, absolutely. I mean, I was hunting around, was there a particular news story, something that drove African Rainbow up 5% today? I couldn't find anything. It's put on 10% in 3 months. So frankly, it did half of what it did, or did what it did in the preceding period. Very, very strong move today. And that is the point. I mean, the companies like Billiton are great, and in a sense they're big, and in a sense they're therefore boring. Companies like African Rainbow can really kind of shoot the lights out to a much better degree because of their smaller stature, because of the ability to be nimble, because of the ability to manage costs in your operations.
And then just looking at the retailers, there's still no stopping them. Shoprite, we have got up 2% today at 101 Rand. And then Pick n Pay, after those relatively muted results, and I think HEPS were down 12% for the interim period, has been rallying every day since the results came out. We're now at 46 Rand 71 on Pick n Pay, up today 1.5%.
Yeah, and they've both been, Pick n Pay's been the big lagger if you take Pick n Pay and Shoprite over all of this year. In fact, pick almost any period except for the last week, it's been Shoprite head and shoulders. Pick n Pay got some catching up to do there, and I think the market's looking at them and saying, well, you know what, heck, if they can catch up, if they can turn things around, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They're going to do spectacularly well. And when we look at the prices and we think, wow, they're expensive, and in fact we probably thought that 10 or 20% ago, but I think foreigners are looking at them as Africa. We look at them as South Africa. We need to go beyond just Limpopo, and that's what the Walmart Massmart story is telling us, is that foreigners are looking at these as a first step in and a nice beachhead into the continent, and as a billion people, which is frankly a China or an India.
And then need I ask you what you made of Harmony Gold's first quarter results today, swinging to a profit of 33 cents from a loss in the prior quarter, having just spoken to Stephen Wolfso saying that in the pipeline, something like Papua New Guinea could unlock huge potential for Harmony. So if you want to take a bet on the gold price and the risk associated with that, Harmony is probably your better bet. Something like Anglo Gold Ashanti, though, a little less of a risky play.
Yeah, your Anglo Gold Ashanti, now that they're unhedged, they've brought an element of risk to them, but Pointer's Gold's going up, so in the next 3-5 years or so, that risk is probably fine. The Papua New Guinea and Harmony, absolutely. I mean, there's a long way to go, and mining is one thing, saying there's gold in the ground, it's another whole story getting at it. It's an expensive story, it's a very long story. But if you really want to take a risky bet on gold, Harmony's probably it. If we drill into the numbers, their operating costs were going all the wrong way, and in fact going backwards. What really saved them was getting more gold out of the ground, and therefore that made the numbers look significantly better. The market, bit of a jaundiced view, selling them off some 2% today.
Looking at Wednesday and the announcement expected from the Fed on the size of quantitative easing, I think everything tracking sideways ahead of that announcement. Your thoughts, do you think that we're going to see the market disappointed here and perhaps the US dollar rallying significantly after the quantitative easing undershoots in terms of size?
It's an interesting point. I mean, if it undershoots, let's say the Fed comes in with a smaller number than the market thinks, then surely that's the Fed saying to us, hey, things aren't so bad, we don't need some capital. The market's going to take it negative, but there's a positive spin to it. Of course, if the Fed comes in with a giant number, the market looks at that and says, this is good, except that's the Fed then telling us things are really ugly, we need a big number. So I'm not so sure it's exactly cut and dried. I think there's going to be a lot of trying to read between the lines and the nuances and the like. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the statement from Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, who's pretty much said he will do whatever it takes. He's not going to let this economy collapse. He will do whatever, and that he's got more ammunition. And the market's a bit skeptical as to what more he's got. But on the quantitative easing that he's proposing on Wednesday, I think it's probably going to be largely neutral unless it is massively different either on the upside or the downside. And even then, is that good or bad?
I'm going to hold you to the statement that you made earlier, that it looks as though we are going to test that 33,000 point level on the JSE all share. Sure. Bring out your crystal ball and tell me, when are we going to test that 33,000 level? Are we going to wait until after Wednesday and hear what the Fed has to say on QE?
Absolutely. It's not going to happen in the next couple of days. I think we're moving that way. I would say probably if I were a betting man, which I try not to be unless I'm a Sharks fan, probably within the next 2 weeks we're probably going to be testing that level.